How much more doth beauty beauteous seem, by that sweet ornament which truth doth give. The rose looks fair, but fairer we it seem by that sweet odour which doth in it live. The canker blooms have full as deep a dye as the perfumed tincture of the roses hangs on such thorns, and plays as wantonly when summer's breath their masked buds discloses. But by their virtue only is their show. They live unwooed, and unrespected fade, die to themselves. Sweet roses do not so. Of their sweet deaths are sweetest odours made. And so of you, beauteous and lovely youth, when that shall fade, my verse distills your truth. That was Sonnet 54. So back from a little hiatus. I was in Ireland last weekend. That was really fun. Diving back into the sonnets. This one is like really progressive, which I had kind of, for all those sonnets that Shakespeare talks about with beauty, I feel like this is the kind of stuff I enjoy him talking about more than just the magnitude of physical beauty. I think this is really deep stuff. This is, and it brings up kind of how unfair parts of the world work, because beauty does not correlate directly to worthiness or substance or goodness or truth. And so a sonnet like this makes me think that the Shakespeare, when he is writing all these sonnets of the fair youth and how beautiful it is, like, I think it's a much more compelling, not story, but like, it's more compelling for me to think that he actually admires the person that the fair youth is, that the fair youth is not only beautiful, and the motifs in this sonnet of a falsely beautiful thing that doesn't have inner beauty or worthiness is just good. It's just that's a really positive message, and it's really optimistic. The section in the middle or near the end, talking about the virtue of a canker bloom is only in its show, and it lives unwooed, it's unrespected, it fades, it dies, and it's like, well, sometimes really vapid, terrible people that have physical beauty or some sort of superficial thing to admire, they do make it in the world. In fact, they tend to make it in the world. That's kind of a thing, right? That like, if you're really, really charming and attractive, you can advance your way through the world even if you're not as worthy as someone else. So it's interesting, because I wish the world worked like that. I wished that inner beauty and truth and worthiness and substance always translated into physical beauty. And you know what? I mean, it kind of does. It really kind of does. In that direction, I think it kind of does. I think that you really can find, and I mean that's what loving relationships are about, right? When you fall in love with someone and you have a deep connection with that person, you're not just in love with the outside. You have a deep personal connection, and I think that you can find beautiful things in this in the core of human beings, any individual, I think that it's not just this tiny little percentage or select few people that are beautiful. Certainly on the outside, I don't think that's true, but on the inside, like, there's so many amazing people in the world, and I think we take for granted because we don't know everyone's story, but I think if you learn just a little bit of someone's story, you can really come to appreciate, like, wow, this person's been through a lot. This person has lived a life, and really appreciate that. So I like the message, but yeah, no, it's in in terms of fairness, I guess, which is kind of another like point on this philosophical plane of like beauty, truth, what is fair in the world. Like, do good things happen to good people, or do good things happen to falsely good people, right? Like, I guess someone that hides behind a superficial mask, but deep down is not a caring or compassionate person, they can sometimes find success in the world, and it can never catch up to them. And yeah, that kind of sucks, but that's kind of the way the world works, I guess. So yeah, this one got me thinking, and yeah, I wish this wasn't in the minority, because I feel like so many of the other sonnets he goes on and on and on about the physical beauty of something, but this was kind of, I like that this went into the contrast, I guess, right, of, you know, what is it in the core of a person versus what's on the outside. You know, kind of maybe kind of a corny message, but I think it's worth saying. It's important. So yeah, that was Sonnet 54. I'm going to do a couple more weeks of sonnets, but the next play that I'm going to be working on is Henry VI, Part 1. And there's a film mini-series-y kind of version of that series of histories. I want to say, because I've seen the Richard of it. It's like the second part of the Hollow Crown. I've seen the Richard III that has Benedict Cumberbatch. And I guess he's probably in the other parts of the story where Richard shows up, but I haven't seen the early ones. So that's what I'm going to plan to watch for this month, and then do a piece from Henry VI, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and then a Richard piece. I really love the histories. The histories are great, so I'm excited to dive into those. So, yeah, this is Sonnet 54. 55 next week. Thanks for watching.